Can video games be art? I guess the more accurate question that we'll be approaching is, could video games ever be considered art? Which is a topic that is heavily contested on both sides of the argument. We will look at both sides of the coin, where one side argues that video games are already art, and the other contests that they haven't and never will be art. First, it would be prudent to define what art is. I looked over various definitions to find what would be the most concise definition, but the problem is that some of the definitions omitted some points that I felt were pertinent to the arguments. So I boiled down all those definitions to one that I think encapsulates the essence of all definitions. Art is the use or expression of human creative skill to visually communicate an idea or emotion. This would mean that all forms of media have the possibility to become art. Now, I am not saying that every video game is art, just like not every painting, film, song, or novel is considered art or literature, but that there is the capacity for art in the video game industry. Video games for some time now have been conveying ideas or emotions. The big change that leapt video games into art came from the improvement in the narrative of games. This change is the catalyst that is slowly inching games into that echelon of art. Even the art community is starting to warm up to the possibility that video games can be art, or at the very least artful. One of the world's most renowned museums, MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, now has several games in their collection and on display in their museum. They have games such as Tetris, Portal, Myst, Viv Ribbon, and Pac-Man. This says to me that one of the most highly regarded art museums in the world is viewing video games in a way that they would view any piece of art, by using the critical process to determine their place among us culturally. As of now, video games typically hover to the lower to mid-range of the cultural skyscraper model that we studied previously. Maybe this signals that video games could be on the rise to another level, and in turn, a new level of respect. Perhaps other games will one day make their way into the collection at MoMA. I would personally vote for games like Limbo, BioShock Infinite, and Undertale. Even the world of academia has tried to tackle this debate. In his article, "Will Computer Games Ever Be a Legitimate Art Form?" Ernest W. Adams states, "The answer is as much about public expectation as it is about the nature of the medium itself. Computer games must seem like other art forms. For games to be recognized as an art form, they must do some of the things that other art forms do, that people expect of art forms. More importantly, their developers must begin to act if they believe that their medium is an art form. They must treat their work as an art form and act as if they expect the public to do the same." Adams is imploring those in the industry to treat their product as art in order to be taken seriously as an art form. But he isn't just taking the people in the industry to task, but the consumers of the media as well. He wants us to expect art from the developers and to critically look at games that they are putting out. Other scholars take a different approach to their argument. They claim that art could improve by applying play to their works. In his article, "Video Games as Objects of Art, Revival of the Play Element in Contemporary Artistic Practice," Paulius Petraitis says that there was a decreased role of the playful element in art and society and culture in general. That's not to say that everyone has been accepting of the idea of video games creeping into the world of art. There have been many detractors in this argument, but one of the most vocal was the renowned film critic Roger Ebert. In a post on his website tastefully titled, "Video Games Can Never Be Art," he claims that no one in or out of the field has ever been able to cite a game worthy of comparison with the great poets, filmmakers, novelists, and poets. Now, I agree that there may not have been a game released yet that may have compared to some of the great works of all time. nor would every game reach such a standard. Not every film, book, or painting reach such lofty goals either. However, I feel like Ebert is being too presumptuous with the title of his post. To say that games can never be art is absurd, especially with the field that he claimed to be obsessed with. There was a time in the infancy of the film industry that people didn't think that it could be considered an art form. But now there isn't a question about that. I feel like we are in that infancy stage for video games as well. While the video game industry may not have gotten to a point where a game is definitively art, but that doesn't mean that it will never be. If we go back to my original definition of art, of being that art is the use or expression of human creative skill to visually communicate an idea or emotion, there is absolutely no question that video games fall into that definition. Games easily convey emotions and ideas, just like how not all books, films, or paintings are great pieces of art, but some are. Games can fit that role as well. I just don't think we have reached a point that everyone can conclude that a single game is art. But we are getting very close.